Alright guys, so welcome to the weekly recap video for week commencing the 30th of March. This week has been a really good week, especially as last week was the famous Trump tweet, which stopped me out. But this week I've caught one winning trade on an intraday position on the euro dollar. I've caught one break even or small profit on GU, and also I took a partial loss, a very small loss, on a Euro USD swing idea. Of course, I'm going to talk you through every single thing, my thinking behind it. If you've got any questions or comments at all, please do drop them in the comment section below. Don't forget to give us a like and of course subscribe as well. And for now, we'll get onto the charts. Alright guys, so here we are on DXY. Again, this is where I do all of my analysis, and this is where kind of the plan starts to form for the week. Now, we can see from the previous week that price tapped into this daily fair value gap and then started to push higher and displace. Now, I actually called this out in the community as well, that I believe, instead of, coming down to this daily fair value gap, it's actually going to take liquidity before. And this is basically my thinking of, well, this trade idea, this, daily fair value gap to liquidity is not played out. You can see this is Friday the 27th, and that's where price action closed, right? So before kind of Monday played out, this is what I mentioned. I believe that it was going to take liquidity first of all. And you can see as we play this forward, what does it do? On Monday, it sweeps liquidity, okay? So at this point, because it swept liquidity, I am expecting a reaction, okay? And from this reaction, I'm just waiting. And this is where on Tuesday, I wake up pretty early, and I can see that on Tuesday at 1 a.m., I didn't wake up at 1 a.m., but I noticed the 1 a.m. candle when I did wake up about 6 a.m. You can see here that we displace. So we've took liquidity from, you can see here, the previous daily high, okay? We've took it on the previous weekly high, and also we've set previous monthly highs, okay? So major liquidity has been taken. So when this happened, and I woke up Tuesday morning, we can see that we've got this 1 hour fair value gap. Now that was good confirmation for me, good confidence for me that price actually wanted to come lower, okay? Because we've reacted, we've created now bearish points of interest, bearish order flow, and I'm expecting, a sell-off from this point, okay? So basically, price taps into it during London session, and it doesn't go anywhere in London session, okay? You can see here, it doesn't go anywhere whatsoever. I'm pretty confident in the move, and again, for the reasons, liquidity has been swept, we've displaced on the 1 hour, and, price is kind of respecting this area. So I jumped in a bit early on this one, and you can see, if we go to EU, it's pretty much the same, and this is the actual trade I caught. We can see, again, this is the 1 a.m. fair value gap here. We can see that price is coming into this fair value gap, and it's kind of respecting it. Although in London session, it didn't go anywhere. It was when New York opened, that's when it started to, push away. So at this point, I'm actually in the trade. You can see price displaced, lovely. And this, gave me confirmation that this is low of the day. You can see on DXY how that looked on DXY as well. Caught a beautiful trade there. And you can see pretty much it plays out to full TP. So it was like a 3.61R trade. You'll see that on the screen now. And my targets for this were simple, which was this daily fair value gap here initially, and then we had this daily fair value gap here as well, okay? So these are my kind of targets. Now, for me, I did call this out in the community as well. I believe that this one was going to get ran through simply because of how that displaced on the 4 hour. That was very aggressive, right? And I actually believe that, it's actually going to come to this. And you can see, what does price do? Comes straight to it, okay? So let's just play this back one. And by this point on EU, I'm out of the trade, okay? So I'm out of the trade at this point, and that is the first win of the week. Now, in terms of executing this trade, I got in a bit early, as I mentioned, but, for an intraday position, you do want to kind of, well, I normally look on the 30-minute and the 15-minute for my entries, but you can see here on the 15-minute, we do displace away here. It just means that, if I did see this displacement, I probably would have got in here. It would have been like just under a 2R trade. So I did catch more of the trade just because I got in a bit early. But again, it's more risky because the confirmation from the trade is the best thing to do. So that's the first one. Now, on GU, this played funny buggers with me, unfortunately. So this was kind of my risk management, okay? So this is the same trade idea of DXY. So the same idea from this 1 hour fair value gap that I've just talked about, okay? So I took the same idea on EU, which won and hit TP, as you can see there. But on GU, let's go back to GU, I'll tell you what happens. So when GU went to 1.5R, and I did do the same on EU as well, I moved my stops to break even, okay? So my stops went to break even pretty much about there. So at this point here, my stops went to break even, okay? And my targets were here. Now the reason I went to break even is because from my data, intraday positions have lower probability, right? Simply because my stop loss is smaller, simply because I'm trading the lower time frames, okay? So what I did on EU, although that hit TP, and GU, I moved my stops to break even, okay? And when I move my stops to break even at 1.5, you can see, what does price do? It takes me out. Remember, my stop loss was normally here, and it goes straight to my TP. Right? So that is frustrating, annoying, but again, with what's happening with the economy and the wars, etc., with Trump tweeting, I'm adding a bit of protection into my intraday positions, especially, just because they're the lower time frames. So that's unfortunate. The good thing is that I got my bias right. It would have been 2 winners. It's always hindsight bias. You question, why didn't I just take all trades on, EU instead? But that's always hindsight. It's frustrating, of course, but the key thing is that I got my analysis right. So that was the break-even trade I caught on GU. Very frustrating, but it is what it is. Now the swing position on EU, I came out for a partial loss. I'm going to talk you through that, okay? Because there was a mix in bias in our community, and also there could be 2 kind of setups from this. All right. So let's go on back to DXY. Again, this is where we do our analysis. You can see here that we have, by this point, this is where I'm starting to look for a potential swing, okay? Remember, this week as well was NFP week, so I was expecting a reaction off that. So this is the reason I took a swing on EU, okay? Let's go to DXY first. So we've swept this previous liquidity here, and you can see we've got a bullish fair value gap here. I'm just going to draw that out so you can see that. Bullish fair value gap, and what happens? We completely run through it, disrespecting it. So that bullish fair value gap is off the table for me, okay? You can see here that we've also got a bullish fair value gap here, and what happens? This candle completely runs through it, okay? So this one is now off the table. What we've now created is bearish order flow, okay? We've disrespected bullish, we've now created bearish, okay? So the basic trade idea for myself was to come into this daily fair value gap. It's actually an inverse fair value gap as well, very small bullish one here. And then basically to sell off, okay? That was the idea. And also, we've got a high probability order block here for me, okay? Why is that high probability order block? Let me just draw this out so you can see it. So daily order block is there. And then we've got here the fair value gap as well. That's the daily fair value gap. All right, so we've got 2 higher time frame bearish points of interest. We've got the daily order block and the daily fair value gap. Now, why that's high interest for me, high probability for me, is because, well, this is all a bullish move, right? Once we take liquidity, we then change direction. So this order block is the last up candle before the change of direction. And because it's took liquidity, that's what makes it a high probability order block, okay? So basically, my trade idea was to come into here to then sell off. Again, for the reasons explained. We've took liquidity, we've disrespected bullish order flow. These are fair value gaps here. We've created a bearish fair value gap and a high probability order block, okay? Also, if we've gone the 4 hour, we've also got a 4 hour fair value gap here. You can see that's not been mitigated as well. So we've got all these bearish POIs, right? okay? And this is my reasons for entering the trade on EU. We've also got clear targets here as well. So we've got internal range liquidity there. And we've got this weekly fair value gap here that's not been mitigated yet, okay? So we've got all this going on. So how this looks on EU is as follows. I'll just go to the daily first of all. And by the way, on this point, this is where I believe, you know, high of the week's come in, right? So this is high of the week. And why that's important is simply because I don't expect price to go higher than that point, right? That's my bias. I've got a bearish bias this week on DXY. So that's, you know, if price action goes beyond this point, well, I'm no longer interested and the trade ID is invalidated. So how this looks on EU is as follows. Let's go on the 4 hour. So this was the trade that I won initially. So let's just discount that. And that was that day. And also, if we play this forward now, we start to get a bit of retracement. And at this point here, I'm actually in the trade. So let me just make sure my entry was right. Yep. So we've got a 1 hour here, fair value gap. That was disrespected, this bearish one. We start to displace. And you can see here on DXY, more importantly, DXY taps into the order block, the 4 hour fair value gap here, into the daily fair value gap as well. And we're starting to create a respect, right? The wick is starting to respect all of these POIs. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, well, you know, this is my, you know, bias. I've got a bearish bias on DXY, high of the week's in. You know, we've got all this bearish POI here. We've got clear targets. So on EU, I'm going to be looking for longs, okay? So I actually get in around about here, like so. And I cover my stop loss here for about, oh, actually, I think it was, hang on. Yeah, I got a 2R, so I want to say it was 60, it's about 68 pips, I'm pretty sure it was. And it was about 2R, yeah, something like that, okay? So let's play this back once. So at this point, I'm in this trade, okay? Because I'm watching DXY. This is where I'm doing all my analysis. Again, it's tapping into all this, you know, high time frame, you know, point of interest. I've got high of the week in, we've swept liquidity, 4 hour fair value gap, daily order block, daily fair value gap, clear targets below, right? This is all the confluence that I'm adding in. Now remember, these are the things that I trade, right? I trade 5 things: displacement, fair value gaps, order flow, order blocks, and liquidity, okay? So they are the 5 things that I trade. So that's all in there, right? That's all in that trade idea. So at this point, I'm in the trade, something like that. Did a market execution, and as you can see, price starts to push away. I do have this 4 hour fair value gap here. And some of our members, you know, said, you know, what about this 4 hour fair value gap? You know, you're not concerned about that. And it is a valid concern, but you've got to pick a bias, right? And my bias is edging 51% over 49%, right? I'm 51% bearish on DXY based on all the things I've explained. And this is why we have stop losses, right? So we make sure we have protection. If we're concerned about every single fair value gap, then we're never going to take a trade. Okay, so for me, I entered here and you can see NFP comes out and it just doesn't really go anywhere at all. Okay, so I actually come out, it wasn't this candle here, I came out pretty much around here. Let's go on the 1 hour, just to make sure it's clearer. It was about, yeah, I want to say it was about 7 o'clock. So about here, this candle here, somewhere in that candle, and it came out for a partial loss here, which I'll share on the screen now. It's a very small loss because my stop loss was so big. And the reason I came out for the trade, guys, even though I didn't hit my stop loss, is number one, I can't hold trades on my funded accounts over the weekend. That's number one. And number two is with what's happening with the war, if something happens over the weekend, let's say I get a tweet or some news that comes through today on Saturday, I'm going to be worrying on, you know, by the time Monday kicks in that, you know, something's going to happen. We could get a huge weekend opening gap and I'm caught in a trade. So I've came out, that's my risk management, just based on what's happening now. In some cases, I will hold in my phases over the weekend, but with what's happening, all this tweeting and all the wars, I just thought it would be better to come out for a very small loss instead of bloody, holding over the weekend and worrying about, a tweet that's going to come out or something else that kicks off in the world, okay? And this is good for me as well because I trade the weekly candle, okay? I'm trading the weekly bias, and guess what? Next week is a fresh week and we get to go again and again and again. So that is basically it for this week, guys. A winning intraday position, a break-even intraday position, and a very small partial loss on a swing position, which, I came out just for risk management. Manually exited. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you've got value from this. If you have got questions, please do let me know in the comments below, and obviously subscribe. March has been a relatively good month. The only downside to March was that Trump tweet that came out, which you can check on the previous video. But other than that, it's been a good month. Okay, which I'm pleased about it. I'm in the green, which is good. And I'm looking forward to see what April is going to bring. So that's enough for me. I'll see you on the next one. And again, any questions, please do let me know. Cheers.